A 23-year-old Ukrainian refugee brutally stabbed to death in Charlotte, North Carolina. Is this another statistical inner city killing, or is there something way bigger globally behind this story? What are we not told? This is good for thought. Let's get into it.
Good for thought.
What up, everybody? What's good to all you beautiful people out there, all my NazareN fam that have been with us all along. I appreciate you being here. If you are new to the channel, thank you for subscribing. If you are just browsing the internet and you happen to be here, remember there's no such thing as an accident. So there has to be a reason why you're here, and we would love for you to subscribe and join the fam. We're talking about a super sad story today. Obviously, I think many of you have heard it already, but I decided to cover it from our side. What are we talking about? We're talking about the 23-year-old Iryna Zarutska, Ukrainian refugee that was brutally stabbed to death in Charlotte, North Carolina. Now, I think I'm almost positive, knowing the system, knowing the way things work, that something much bigger is behind this story, and we're gonna try to unpack it. I think there's gonna be a quick video. First, before we start, I want to give my condolences to the family. We are so sorry that you are suffering through such a loss. We know what it feels like to lose loved ones. All of you, fam out there, all of you know that if this would have happened yesterday or before, a couple days prior, we wouldn't cover this story, because we never do that. We usually, respect the family and the people close to the victim that are going through it, through their grief processes. But this is another strange thing about this story. This happened on August 22nd, and as far as we are being told, this is exactly what happened, and you will see in the video what happened. So basically, on August 22nd, as the report says, a 23-year-old Ukrainian refugee, because it's highlighted everywhere, 23-year-old Iryna Zarutska, or in Russian Iryna Zarutskaya, enters a local train at 10 o'clock p.m. coming home from work. She worked at a pizzeria. Now, I come from a city, so to me, calling a train is something that goes between cities and towns, and a subway, or the metro, is something that goes within the city limits. They're calling it a train, so we will call it a train. As you can see on the video, Iryna Zarutska enters the train at about 10 p.m. At night. It seems that she has done this, routinely every day, coming home from work, again, working at a pizzeria. As you can see in the video, she sits on the seats in front of her to be killer. As the report says, the doors to the train close, and the train, starts going, and about 4 minutes pass from the time that the train stopped and Iryna walked in. Remember, just like you see in the video, the killer is already sitting behind her. He's sitting by the window. She sort of sits, in the seat in front of him, but not in the window, but on the other seat. And again, the doors close, train, lifts off, and 4 minutes go by, and we see in the video the killer, he reaches into his pocket, he pulls out the knife, and then he has like these, few seconds of contemplation, it seems, and then he gets up over, and behind Iryna and stabs her. As the report says, we haven't seen any autopsy reports, but as far as the news are saying, stabs her 3 times, at which, again, the statement says that Iryna dies at the scene. The man was a, if I'm not mistaken, he's a 34-year-old. His name is Decarlos Brown, a very strange man. they are highlighting that this man had mental health conditions, as his sister would, excuse me, would give a statement. And what jumps out to me very strange about Decarlos Brown is that he did serve 5 years for a armed robbery, and he had some sort of a larceny record. So what's really strange to me is that this man, did not have any violent crimes prior. Um, a super duper duper strange thing is that he stabs her 3 times, at which, again, the report says that she dies at the scene. Now, I don't know if any medics are going to watch this. Me being around for a long time, I usually know that if you were to stab someone 3 times, especially, kind of coming from behind and over them, you would have to know what you are doing, at what, locations of the body you are stabbing the person, for someone to die right away, to die from 3 stab wounds. Now, I have seen, horrific stabbings. I have been stabbed myself. So those are, strange things. A very strange thing, and maybe out of this story, it's the most strange thing, is that, again, you can see on the video, she walks in, the killer and the victim, they do not exchange any words. I don't even think Iryna looked at him. I'm not even sure if he, kind of directly looked at her. We don't see that in the video. There are no reports saying that they had prior communications, prior any sort of, relationships, friendships, anything, nothing. So this is, bugged out. This is crazy. First of all, obviously, it's super sad. Again, all of our prayers are with the family and the friends, but all of this doesn't click. As I said, the man did not have violent crimes prior to the case. Again, they had no communications, they're not friends, they're not acquaintances. She's 23, he's 34. She sits down. Again, I would understand if there was some kind of an altercation on the train. She said something or looked at him weird. He said something back to her. But no, it seems like this man knew exactly what he was going to do. This was very calculated. 4 minutes go by. As the train takes off, he stands, he pulls out the knife, he thinks about it, he has those, few last seconds of, contemplation, and then he goes through with the brutal and senseless to us, murder. Now, the latest news is that the killer is going to get, the most extreme punishment. They're boosting it up to a federal crime, and so the strangeness, right? I mean, we kind of explained the strangeness of the incident. Now, on a larger scale, this is what's super duper strange, right? And to any of us that, again, that know the system, know how things work, that this incident happened on August 22nd, right? Nothing was said about it, it didn't go viral, nothing, until September 9th. Now, it's sad for me to say, but these sort of incidents, accidents, whatever, crimes happen in America daily, all over the United States. Usually, something like this will get like local coverage. A girl, stabbed to death on a train. Horrific. But all of a sudden, this is national news. All of a sudden, Kash Patel with the FBI talks about it. President Trump gives a little statement calling the guy a lunatic, and oh my God, how is this happening in America? And this thing goes international. So here are my thoughts. Here's the good for thought. Obviously, there's nothing good about it. Um, but the reason I'm picking up this story is to remind us, all of us, to stop being so naive. We remember exactly how the war in Iraq started. We remember exactly about, the Twin Towers. We remember, how the war in Afghanistan and the war in Ukraine, and all of these horrific things. So here's what I'm thinking. With the protest that went on against, Zelensky and his party in Kiev, with everything that's going on around Zelensky right now, meaning that, they're all of a sudden, they're supposedly, bringing out all the corruption cases from the, administration close to Zelensky and the people close to Zelensky, and that weird protest in Kiev against, the corruption. I decided not to cover that story. What it looks like to me is something big is about to happen with Ukraine. First of all, I think they're getting ready to take Zelensky out. What I mean by that, um, obviously they're gonna move him somewhere, move him to an island or whatever. He can take his billions, like his time is done. Their plot is something else now, and because for a long time here in the United States, Americans are not talking about Ukraine anymore. It's very scarce. If we remember 2022, 2023, even 2024, flags everywhere, on social media. People have "I stand with Ukraine" for the last at least 6 months since Trump has been in office, especially since President Trump met Putin in Alaska. People in America, like, we give a shit less and less and less. Obviously, we give a shit. I mean, we as Americans are, they stopped giving a crap. I mean, it's human nature, but I mean that, like, whatever. Everyone has, their own daily life problems, and I think, again, I think they needed a big story. Why am I saying that? And I'm so sorry that we have to talk about this young lady and this accident, incident that way. But this, again, it smells very fishy, because all of the news coverage, the first thing you hear, the first thing you read is Ukrainian refugee. It does not say a young woman was, da 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 da. It does not say a 23-year-old, da da da. No, they're making sure that, Ukrainian refugee is stuffed in your face. Ukrainian refugee. The first news outlets, I didn't even hear her name. Sadly. So I think, with everything going on in the European Union, and all those, criminals up top, they really want this freaking war to be a repeat of World War II. With everything that our president, one day, we're stopping this. The next day, we're selling weapons to the Europeans selling it to the Ukrainians. And again, all of you Nazarenes out there, I know all of you know how the system works. So I think, in order to bring attention back to everything that's going on with Ukraine, they picked specifically a young girl. They keep saying a young, beautiful girl. I'm not a judge of that, but they are saying a young, beautiful Ukrainian girl. They're really making sure that we hear this. They're really making sure to let us know that she ran from the war in Kiev, only to find her senseless demise over here. So this is extremely fishy. We have to be on a lookout in the coming days, in the coming weeks. Something is going to go down. For some reason, this story is being, put back up. Who could have done that? That's like a needle in the haystack, because so many different interested parties are out there. So I really want to know what all of you think. Again, to the family of Iryna, We are so sorry for your loss. And if we're mad, we should be mad that again, a life is sacrificed for senseless wars. That's what they should say, senseless wars. um and countless lives, millions of lives are always sacrificed for nothing. And let's make sure that this is not for nothing. Let's make sure that we remember the young girl, and let's finally give some sort of a resistance. Again, I will never tell any of you protest and all of that is dumb. The way that we give resistance is we will talk about these things, we will enlighten one another, and slowly but surely we will start to disconnect from this web of lies. This was good for thought. I love all of you out there. Please stay safe, go hug your loved ones, and appreciate every single second, because the young kid, 23-year-old Iryna Zarutska, will not be waking up tomorrow. And listen, we want to see those autopsy reports, man. It's been over 2 weeks, such a high profile case. Let's see them autopsies, because I don't believe 3 times and dies at the scene. The guy had to knew what he was doing. Also, I wanted to end this, but I'll just remind everyone of this. Also, what I was thinking is, if we remember about MK Ultra, the way signals are able to be sent to the brain, we talked about it before on this channel. Medication could have been given, whatever it is. Someone could have passed him by on the street and he could have smelled something. So none of this is like fantastical or sci-fi, anything. This has been going on and will continue going on unless we become the spiritual resistance. Again, love all of you out there. My boys, Domek, Jim Dillinger, obviously, David Voronuk, Alan Tate, all of you fam out there. You know what we say. Uno.